For the past 2 weeks, I've taken a total of 2 payouts from just one funded account. Had I been trading 2 accounts instead, I could have easily doubled my payout by now. So for this week's challenge, I'll be copy trading my funded account alongside a brand new 50K Lucid evaluation, hoping to pass it and eventually build my way up to 5 accounts, with the end goal of transitioning into live trading. But is it really that simple, or am I just multiplying my mistakes across more accounts? Only one way to find out. To start off this week, the market did dump hella over the weekend, and after some retracement, I was feeling bearish as long as the price stays below the EMAs. Right off the open, I took my first short after the 5-minute close with a strong candle. However, price was hesitating hella at this area, so I built early thinking maybe I'll re-enter after more confirmations, which luckily came after another rejection of the EMA, and this time sellers finally stepped in to secure 300 bucks. Shortly after, the move started losing steam at the low, so I decided to switch long after price began printing higher highs. But since we were still trading below the EMA, I took profit early for 200 bucks. With that, I was already over $600, which is usually where I'll call it a day. However, seeing we were still less than 30 minutes into the session, I was like, maybe I can push this account up to 1500 bucks today and probably pass it within the week. About that. Low-key not my smartest decision, as the next setup came right after price broke below the EMA. But buyers somehow decided to step in this time and stop me out for 230 bucks. Then, with price refusing to move lower, I figured maybe it's time for the market to rip back up. But something felt kinda sus with the 5-minute trading against the EMA, so I built with a small loss and decided to wait for a cleaner entry instead. Which somehow turned out to be the right call, because the market literally printed a Trump candle a few seconds later and would have stopped me out for a fat loss. But please tell me you guys weren't caught in that massive dump. Following that, I spent the next few trades trying to catch the market recovering from the dip earlier. And before I knew it, my account was sitting just under 500 bucks. But after seeing a decent rejection of VWAP, I jumped in short looking for price to at least test the 600s, which luckily played out just fine and brought my account back to around 600 bucks in profit. At this point, I was like, had I walked away earlier, I wouldn't have had to go through all of this mess. But since I was almost back to where I started, I decided to just close the charts and locked in $596 for the day. CPI came out on Tuesday before New York opened and the market absolutely ripped. Usually, these sessions are kinda annoying to trade because there are so many gaps left behind that price loves revisiting before actually deciding where it wants to go. And sure enough, after the open, the market spent the first 30 minutes doing basically nothing but chopping sideways. Even though price wasn't going anywhere, it was respecting this channel pretty well. And seeing it slowly print higher highs, I figured we were probably getting a breakout soon. So after a decent 5-minute candle closed, I jumped in long. However, the market just wasn't feeling longs today and I got tapped out for 315 bucks. Seeing how aggressively price rejected after that, I wasted no time flipping short once the trendline broke. And this time, the market actually agreed with me before dipping lower to quickly lock in 230 bucks. At this point, I took my hands off the chart since we were trading within the 15-minute demand area, but after price started rejecting off the 5-minute gap, I was like, it should at least make a run towards the 650 demand, right? Even though it was a small target, I entered anyway to banking 120 bucks before buyers finally stepped in and bounced the market. After that, price started ripping straight back into the 15-minute ORB, but instead of looking for longs, I was low-key leaning short since the 5-minute closed with a decent wick off the top, and with price breaking below the trend line, I jumped in short. However, price was kinda hesitating around the bottom of the ORB, and with the market being rangy today, I decided to just tap out early for 170 bucks. Honestly, I wasn't really feeling the market anymore as the EMAs were mostly flat, and it kinda felt like one of those days where the market could chop you out if you stayed too long. So I hopped off the charts and called it a day, walking away with just under 200 bucks after commissions. Alright, we reached the middle of the wick green so far. Surely we can continue ripping banger trades, right? Pre-market was kind of cruising down after overnight's pump, and as long as price stays below the EMA, I'ma be looking for shorts. First trade came quickly as the market dipped below the trend line. However, after realizing this area had rejected multiple times before, I decided to just bail at break even. Even though it did plummet after that, I wasn't feeling salty since I followed my rules. Shortly after, price did start bouncing off this demand zone, so I jumped in long at the break of the 5-minute bullish candle. So since I'm technically counter trend trading, I kinda aggressively trailed my stop in case sellers decided to step back in, which unfortunately tapped me out for 160 bucks. However, after seeing another bounce, I was like, maybe my call was actually right, so I re-entered again, but that didn't last long as I built once more after the price rejected off the EMA. But damn, I'm literally 3 for 3 on missing out the gains, and had I held those trades earlier, I could have been done for the day. Instead, I'm stuck trying to get myself out of drawdown, and newsflash, it didn't really end well. Price did rip below the EMA again after some retracements, so I took a snapshot looking for the market to test the 750s, which it did, to banking a fat 370 bucks to bring my account back to the green. And I didn't just stop there, as I re-entered after seeing the strong bearish momentum to quickly grab yet another 160 bucks. So far, no biggie, right? But hero, I thought you say it didn't end well? Yeah, cause this was where everything went downhill, as I entered the next trade with a similar setup at the break of the 5-minute candle, but this time my luck ran out as price immediately dumped back down for 200 bucks. And with my account down to break even again, I low-key got tilted and started ripping trades. But what really sealed the fate was this mess where I got freaking destroyed. By the time I was done, I was literally down over 1400 bucks. At one point though, I somehow got a trade up to 900 bucks and could have recovered most of my losses had I just taken the profit. Instead, my greed took over wanting to catch that 1k target, which the market was like nope, and started rejecting to eventually bring my account down to the max drawdown, officially marking this challenge as a failure. And for those of you wondering about my funded account, I stopped copy trading after my drawdown went down to 1000 bucks, so it kinda survived. And after this disaster, I decided not to buy another evaluation. So I guess I'll just go back to trading my funded account for now, and hopefully build a decent buffer before donating more money to Lucid. Pre-market kept printing lower lows, but right before open, we kinda formed a double bottom, so I'll be leaning bearish if price started trading below the 450s. Which it did, so I took a snapshot after the 5-minute bearish close, and as we got closer to my target, I kinda got greedy because the 5-minute looked hella strong, so I was like, surely this thing's gonna rip lower, right? So I pushed my target a little further, but that didn't really go as planned as buyers suddenly stepped in to rip the market up. And before I knew it, I was getting stopped out for 170 bucks. After another strong red candle close though, I jumped back in short. But looking back, I was probably late to the move already because the second I entered, the market immediately started retracing to stop me out for 280 bucks. Even then, I was still feeling shorts, and I was like, maybe I just didn't give my stop enough space. So after a decent pullback, I re-entered again, and this time sellers finally stepped in to bank in 300 bucks. Shortly after the 15-minute close bearish, I took another snapshot looking for the market to test the 290s, and halfway through the trade, I actually wanted to move my stop further up, but kind of reacted a little too late, which unfortunately got me tapped out for 150 bucks. Still thinking we probably had another leg lower though, I jumped back in, and this time I even added another 5 contracts before the market finally dumped into my target to secure a fat 535 bucks, bringing my account back into the green. Following that, buyers stepped in off the demand zone and the market started ripping back up. So I was leaning longs instead, and after seeing price close above the 5-minute gap, I entered long looking for continuation. However, since the 5-minute was struggling to push through the EMA, I just bailed early to secure another 136 bucks. At that point, I actually decided to hop off trading, especially after yesterday's massive loss. And I really wasn't trying to overtrade again, so I just stopped recording, but I low-key left the chart open, which somehow ended with me taking another snapshot off screen after noticing price was struggling to break above the VWAP and the 5-minute close with a pretty decent candle. Luckily, it worked out just fine to banking another 205 bucks before finally walking away up a little over $500, which somehow puts my funded account right back at break even after 4 trading days since my last withdrawal. We start off today with price continuing yesterday's downtrend. So off open, I took a shot at the lows after breaking through this liquidity line. However, just when my target was about to be hit, price was like nope and aggressively bounced back up. So I got scared and bailed since there was quite a big gap left to be filled. But price literally dumped back down after I exited, so damn it. After pushing a tad bit lower, price kinda did a V-shaped reversal off demand, and I didn't really want to FOMO in since there wasn't a good entry for my setup. But after seeing price reject off the 15-minute gap, I figured figure after such a strong pump, it should at least make a run back to test this area, right? So I took a snapshot and managed to bank a quick 220 bucks. A few minutes later, the market started printing lower lows after bouncing off the gap again, so I jumped into another short, where price pretty much ripped straight to my target for another 230 bucks. And since it's the end of the week, I just called it there, ending the day up $485 after commissions. So even though we blew our 50k evaluation, we somehow ended the week with our funded account up just under 500 bucks, which isn't as bad as I thought, but maybe I'm just not used to copy trading yet, because I definitely felt a lot more pressure trading multiple accounts. So for now, I'll probably just focus on getting my next payout, and who knows, maybe I'll double down with 2 more evaluations once I'm ready. So if you want to find out whether I can actually pull that off, you can probably click on this thing, and I'll see you real soon.